The Miami Heat are back in the mix once again as they are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference through 20 games, sitting at 13-7. But if you haven't been locked into Heat basketball so far this season, you probably haven't noticed that they're doing this a different way. This is a different style than any other Miami Heat team in recent history. So let's talk about it. The Heat so far this year are one of the league's most lethal offenses, being ranked second in points per game and the league's highest paced team as well. In recent years, the Heat were really just known as being this rough, ragged, slow paced, just a whole different physical type of team than they are now. Not to say they don't have some of those traits, here and there, because once again, they are the Miami Heat, and some of these things never leave the identity of that team. But they decided to pick up a different identity, something that's just a little bit more modern. And so far, like I said, they're leading the league in pace, and they are one of the least PNR reliant teams in the entire league. An underrated and notable move that the Heat did this offseason was hiring Noah LaRoche, who was previously with the Grizzlies last season. And the Grizzlies were a team last year who had a very good offensive season. Yes, they fell apart at the end of the year, but they had a really good start. The offense was really good, and LaRoche's influence was all over that team, and it has been all over this Heat team this season. This new style of ball they play has been able to maximize so many guys on their roster as just a collective unit. Let's look at the stats to prove just how crazy this Heat team has been offensively. They have 5 guys averaging 15 plus points per game. They have nearly 8 guys averaging double figures, with Nikola Jovic sitting just outside of double digits at 8.3, which would make it 9. But they're also a weird team because offensively they might be great, but defensively they're weird. You look at the numbers and they give up 118 points per game, which would rank 20th in the league, obviously below league average, but they're second in defensive rating. So obviously, I would assume that the higher pace has just led to more overall possessions and somewhat inflated negative defensive stats. But when it gets to the nitty gritty in the half court setting, I think they're a little better than what some of the basic stats might suggest. For example, another weird stat that this Heat team has is they get the most shots up in general this year, but they also give up the most shots per game, which kind of suggests what I'm saying about their pace being one of the things here playing a part in why the stats are what they are. It's similar on the rebounding front. They're 6th in total boards per game, but they give up the second highest amount of boards, ranking 29th in opponent rebounds per game as well. But another thing I want to talk about with this Heat team is a sneaky impressive stat that has nothing to do with being weird. It's just kind of similar to the LaRoche influence that it was last year for the Grizzlies, where they're putting up these numbers and their best players are barely playing 30 minutes a game. Like they're playing 31, 30 at most per game. And it's similar to last year's Grizzlies because I remember last year they had a bunch of guys just getting a lot of minutes and their stars were really sitting at the low 30s at most. And a lot of people discussed it and were like kind of in awe because you looked at certain teams that were doing the opposite and being successful and you're like, damn, the Grizzlies are out here playing 10 guys, 11 guys, and it's working. They're pretty much having success. And the Heat are kind of doing something similar. They're not playing guys a huge load of minutes, but they're getting success at everyone that does play. And when I look at this Heat team as a whole, I think they have the chance to enter into conversation to take over that Pacers role. And no, I'm not saying that, they are officially like the new Indiana and Indiana will never be back to being what they are. I'm just saying they can take over that Pacers role in being that 3rd, 4th, or 5th seed that could potentially make a run and be a team you don't want to see in a playoff setting. Because I think they can make a run and upset maybe some of these higher seed Eastern Conference teams. We obviously know they got the deep run playoff experience through the core of their roster, and Spo is obviously a basketball genius, and he's been through so much experience as well. Plus, to me, I actually think the East is a little more open than what we may have thought. Despite the Knicks and the Cavs still being looked at as probably the most talented rosters on this conference, you got these teams that are making some runs right here where I think the Pistons are real. I think the Heat are going to be in this top 5 mix for the rest of the year. And then you got surprise teams like Toronto, and the East is a little weird. I think it's a little more open than some people may have thought. And coming into the year, I wasn't as high on this Miami Heat team. because I probably saw them as like a fringe top six, like maybe sixth at most, likely a play-in team type of vibe. And who knows? There's still a bunch of games left. Maybe that still occurs. But when I watch them play and the times that I have, I like the way they play. And I see them sticking around in this little top five bubble where they're going to be floating between the fifth, fourth, maybe third at most type of seed. And they get a lot of production from a lot of guys. They play very fast. And who knows? Maybe it slows down in the playoffs and it kind of, plays to a disadvantage for this squad that, in the regular season, they're going to go out there and basically make it a track meet and it's going to be hard to stop them. But if they can find a way to play the way they've been playing and it translates to the playoffs, I can definitely see them getting a home court advantage in one of these playoff series come April as a top 4 seed and, doing some damage, making it past the first round and going into a second round series versus one of these, Detroit's, New York's, those type of teams, and maybe coming away with either a really tough exit or a tough 6-7 game series where they end up pulling off a crazy upset. I see it happening. It's definitely a possibility. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. This has been a checkup, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.